In this video, I'm going to show you how much it costs to live in the capital of the Algarve. We'll cover all the main expenses you might encounter living here, such as accommodation, utilities, groceries, restaurants, coffees, transport, leisure, and more. You'll also get heaps of local tips on the best places to spend your time and the types of things and people you need to watch out for. Let's cross off the biggest expense you're going to have anywhere. Apartments in Faro rent for an average price of, for a 1-bed, for a 2-bed, all the way up to for a 4-bedroom. If you're wanting to rent a house, expect to pay. For the sake of this video, let's just assume that you're only needing to rent a 1-bedroom. Moving right along, we have utilities. Now this is the average price that I've paid for water, electricity and internet over the last year that I've been living in Portugal. These costs would be more or less the same in Faro because it's the same companies that operate across Portugal. Like most of Europe, we do see a big spike in energy costs during the winter, and this is primarily just to heat the apartment. In the summer months, typically use a fan or two, so the cost of electricity is significantly lower. If you were to use an air conditioner, I would expect to pay around €100 per month year round. Groceries is something you can normally save money on in Portugal. This is primarily when you shop at the German supermarket chains, Lidl and Aldi. The local recommendation though is Algarve, which is only found in the Algarve and sources local produce. With a shorter supply chain, you get fresher, seasonal fruit and veg, as well as local dairy and meat products. Expect to pay a little bit more than you would at Pingo Doce or Continente, which are the other Portuguese supermarkets, but not a lot more. Grocery budget around €250 per person to eat well. If you're liking this video so far, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. It helps me figure out what type of content people enjoy watching. Portugal is home to a rich culinary culture and a lot of delicious food. Obviously, restaurants in Faro can vary in price, like this one here being a good example of a mid-range seafood restaurant that still doesn't guarantee the freshest product.
Look at the eyes of the fish. If they're yellow or they're yellowish, it's not fresh. It's either frozen or it's a bit old, right?
Yeah.
The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
At the high end, you can go to meal for one person costing. At the lower end, you have a lot of local Portuguese Tasca kind of places, which is where we normally go for breakfast and lunch. A lunch and coffee will cost you, and here's the menu in case you're curious. Eating out is a huge part of the culture here in Portugal. With most people opting for low and mid-range options, I would typically eat at maybe 12 low-cost options and 2 to 3 mid-range options per month, bringing my total expenses on restaurants to. The same can be said for coffee. While in my opinion, the coffee in Portugal leaves much to be desired, the Portuguese seem to like it and they drink a lot of it. The most common business you're going to find here in Portugal is actually a pastelaria or bakery, where people will get their savoury and sweet pastries in addition to coffee. 90% of the time in Portugal, coffee will be ordered short and black. Now normally I don't eat a lot of sugar, but for this place, I had to make an exception. A local favourite serving Faro's best pastries for decades. And the best part is they bake everything in front of you.
I see what you mean. It's all sweet stuff. Cakes and that, eh? Yeah.
If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. I will be making a lot more of these cost of living type of videos in various countries and cities around the world so that you guys have better intel when you're traveling. Unfortunately, public transport in Portugal is not great. While getting to Faro from Lisbon is relatively easy with the likes of Flixbus and Red Expresso, getting around in Faro will be a bit of a challenge. Without a car, you're going to be pretty stuck, because you're not going to be able to access some of the most beautiful beaches in Portugal and even in Europe. More on that later. Car rental on the likes of booking.com are as follows. Bear in mind, using these services usually requires a significant deposit, so make sure you read the T's and C's. A local company in Faro will probably set you back around. When you add the car and the average monthly expense for petrol for a single person, you get a total of for transport. To buy a car may actually be a better option long term, so I'll put a link in the description for those of you who are interested in exploring this option. Medical insurance is something that I get asked about a lot, and just like in Thailand, I currently don't use insurance when I'm traveling around Portugal and Europe, and this is because I prefer to pay out of pocket. for any medical expenses that I may encounter, because I don't really have that many. At a private hospital or clinic like this one, Joachim Saud, quality is good and prices kind of depend on what you need to get done. So a CT scan or an MRI is pretty reasonable at around 150 to 200 euros. But if you're looking to get a comprehensive blood panel, I've been quoted as high as 380 euros. If somebody is Portuguese in the comments and can explain that to me, I'd be really grateful. For the risk averse among you, I'll link a travel insurance company that I have used in the past in the description. Anyway, if you set aside 150 euros per month for miscellaneous medical expenses, that'll surely be more than enough to cover it, as long as you're not applying for the Pain Olympics. The Algarve is famous for its beaches, boats, and bars, so there's plenty of fun to be had. If you're wanting to reach any of the beautiful beaches though, you will most likely need a car, as I mentioned previously. The local recommendation, and my personal favourite down in Faro, is a beach called Praia de Fabrica. Now we arrived at high tide, so we actually had to take a little dinghy across to reach the beach. This only sets you back 1 to 2 euros per person, but it does make the beach feel quite unique and special. There's also a really cool little town sitting up on the hill with great views, and some pretty religious brewers. Speaking of which, experiencing Portugal's beaches is thirsty work. A small beer or imperial at a local Portuguese bar or kiosk will typically set you back around €1.50 to €2.50, depending of course on where you go. Keep in mind though that this is a wine producing region, so the local tip is to drink wine instead. Buying the cheapest bottle on the menu might be a little bit risky though, so my recommendation is to go for a mid-range option, which will set you back anywhere from 5 to 7 euros per glass, or 15 to 20 euros per bottle. This brings our total cost for leisure to 200 to 300 euros per month. For some people that may not be enough, but I'm a pretty boring guy, so most of the time, what I like to do doesn't cost a cent. Top leisure activities I'd recommend checking out are this museum and walking around Faro's old town.
You got some jippos sleeping on the street. Wouldn't be Portugal without it.
It's just the same people wanting benefits, not wanting to integrate with the culture, and not wanting to work in their majority. I'm not saying it's everyone.
Just yesterday we were sitting having a coffee and there was this little girl who must have been about 6 or 7 who was out begging. Saw her after run into her mum, who then, a big fat lady, just scolded the shit out of her for not collecting enough money. And yeah, that's just how they live. That's how they make their living, by sending their kids to beg. So slightly immoral, but yeah, it's just something that happens around here.
This brings our grand total to... So the numbers that you're seeing may be a little bit surprising to some of you, especially considering that the average Portuguese wage is around 1,500 euros per month as of 2025. But there are a few caveats. Firstly, the transportation costs are significantly higher than they would be for the average Portuguese person. Most normal people would either buy a car or they would use public transport. Additionally, I live a really good life compared to the average Portuguese person. I have a lot of disposable income I can spend on groceries and restaurants and coffees and things like that. And this is something that the average Portuguese person maybe wouldn't have access to. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button and I'll see you on the next video.